The king's back. 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 The king's back.
Put me up on stage. What's up? What's good? What's happening? I am the actual King Smith, and this is my Furlough vlog. I'm gonna come online and talk about whatever the funk I want to talk about tonight. Tonight, I just wanted to turn the camera on, kick it tonight with some people who may just want to chat, put their thoughts up on the screen, or do whatever. It is Friday, October 31st, Halloween here if you're in the US, because what some of y'all don't know is I'm international. And I do have some people overseas that will tune in whenever I go live from time to time. But my name is King Smith. For those of y'all who don't know, that is actually my government name, which is why I go by the actual King Smith on all social medias. Today was day one of me getting furloughed. I am no longer working while the government is shut down. I worked the first 30 days. Our HR people did a reassessment, and it was determined that my services were no longer needed until we get appropriations and they can start legally paying the people who are currently not getting paid right now. There are several people or elements of the government that are. I believe I heard that the military is getting, are getting. You know what? I'm from Alabama, y'all. Charge it to the game. But the military will be getting, goodness gracious, their paychecks for their end of month paychecks, which I can't imagine a government that would want to have people out there doing their missions 24/7, the shield of the United States, and not have those people earning or receiving the money that they've earned while out here defending our nation. This government shutdown has been a pain in my ass. And it has been for a lot of people as well. I learned from the 35-day shutdown that we had back in 2019 that I need to get my ass a lot more prepared for those tough times, right? For a while after my divorce, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And when you don't necessarily make the right decisions initially up front, but you know better, it's not just about knowing better, right? You've got to do better as well. So after the 2019 shutdown, I did what a lot of people should have been doing, and that was anything that was necessary to turn things around financially, right? Get that financial health picture. And I did have some help along the way. So I don't have a story of getting out here and it was just me and my own grit and determination. No, I definitely had some help along the way. And I am thankful for each and every person that was there for me whenever I needed some help. I've not forgotten that. I have not forgotten that at all. But it took me, again, taking action steps, following a plan to really get things turned around. So that now, in the current government shutdown, I'm not worried about how things are going to get taken care of. At least for 6 months, I can meet my current obligations plus a little bit of a buffer, right? Because I don't want to be just sitting in the house doing nothing unless I'm just live streaming. Look, if I could make a living off of live streaming, I would be like this one content creator, Coach Greg Adams, who streams about 40 hours a week. And he's not streaming just gaming. He's doing content like this, where he's presenting information, he's talking to people. He has a very structured format with the way that he does that. But he's been able to use YouTube, primarily YouTube anyway, as an avenue to work, because it is when you're putting in that many hours for something like live streaming or whatever, it'll be a good thing if you'll be able to have that income and that revenue to like pay your bills. Some people treat YouTube like a job. Take a look at Kaisenat, Mr. Beast. There are several other YouTubers that are wealthy from starting something like putting their camera, whether it was themselves or a brand. There are people that are teaching using YouTube and things like this. And they're able to monetize themselves and pay all of their bills. I'm not there. I'm not there. I was sitting thinking of what I'm going to be doing while I'm on this furlough, and I've never understood people that will get on here and say, well, I'm retired or I don't have a job, so I don't know what to do. I know exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to execute that. I'm not going to just be sitting home doing nothing. Shout out to God Happened to Me, said, hey, handsome. Hey, baby. That is my boo thing. She got on and she did something really good in her community today. So I'm going to talk about her for a second. In the US, for the children who are in high school, when you're a graduating senior and you partake in, it's primarily like sports events. They'll have stuff called senior night. This is those seniors' last time being able to perform at that level that they are in for that competition. And what a lot of schools or places like to do is for that senior night, they will be walked out by typically your parents or somebody that's like instrumental in your life, so that you're recognizing the students and them getting through, that senior year. It's their last time. If it's a basketball game, playing basketball, it's their last football game. It's their last time being a cheerleader, last time in the band, all of those things. And you'll typically go out there with somebody that like matters to you. They take photos, that stuff goes in the yearbook, all of that jazz. And if it's important to you and to your parents, they'll make it. Well, Michelle was asked to walk someone out whose parent couldn't make that, right? And if she was one of those people that was just an educator and that was it and didn't care, she probably wouldn't have been asked. Asked. I hate that word, asked. She probably wouldn't have been asked. And B, even if asked and she was heartless, she might not have done it. Now, I remember who walked out for me on my senior year. So it's typically something that you don't forget. And Michelle being asked to do that and her accepting and doing it speaks volumes to her because she didn't have to be at this game. She didn't have to be there. Like, it is not a requirement for her to be there. But she shows up and shows her support for people, and it's evident. There's been people that I've met that I didn't meet because of her, but I get stopped all the time. Hey, are you Mr. Smith? Or hey, do you know Miss Early? To some of those kids I've lied to, and I'd be like, I don't know who that is. And most of the time I'm wearing something that's got my name on it. So if they know my first name, it could be obvious. I play too much, first of all. So some people I'm like, never met her. Never heard of him. I don't think that I've ever told you that, babe. So yeah, I do play around with some people sometimes. I'm curious who's going to be the first person that if they saw me like with you later when I've told them no, they'll realize that I was just playing. She said, thank you for the share. Of course. Of course. That's pretty dope. She said, LOL, you lie to my babies. Nah, I joke. Is a joke a lie if it's meant to be a joke? Oh, man. So what am I going to do during the furlough? Well, first thing I'm going to do, I've got an exam coming up. It's an exam I've pushed back several times, the CompTIA Security Plus exam. It is one of a professional certification that you can get. Typically, people that work in or around IT will get it. And it is something that my job, A, paid for training, and B, is going to pay for the certification. Now, I took the training back in like March, and they typically tell you when you get done with the training, you want to do it within like 30 days, preferably the week after, so that you can retain the information. Well, I pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off this many times as other things kind of got in the way. I told myself I definitely wanted to do it this year, so I'm going to do it. And then once I get that certification, I'm going to make an attempt to either use the skills or maybe look at seeing if I could volunteer some of my time if I'm not live streaming or if I'm not actively at the gym to enhance this thing right here, this big old dome. Enhance my knowledge so that give about 5 years from now, 10 years max, I can work what I'm working now, set forth a plan that me and Michelle are looking at hitting and planning and doing and hitting certain milestones. And somewhere between 5 to 10 years, right, we would have the ability to either like work for ourselves or have things set up in a manner where we have budgeted annually the things that we would like to do, like travel, have a business or something set up that is earning revenue that we can use that time for ourselves, where I'm not necessarily worried about my current employer and my employer's ability to pay me. That's the next milestone. That's the next life milestone, so to speak. My kid's grown, right? My daughter's a freshman in college. So once that milestone got done, for me, it was what's next? And I should have got some water. I have to put myself on break and go get some water. Do I have a Gatorade up here? Where's my assistant at? I need to fire my assistant for not being right here to bring me some water. But the next milestone is going to be living life where I can live comfortably without necessarily having to worry about the bills, which I don't worry now. Like, they get paid. I have enough income and not enough expenses to where I can pay all of my bills and be able to do some things at the end. So I'm going to take this furlough time and use that to enrich here and enrich here. Enrich. That's a word too. All right, pause. Time out. I'm from the South, right? I have some Southern things. But did y'all know that when people say, I used to paint, I used to draw, or I used to not be that way, which isn't really a sentence unless you're from the South. Did y'all know that if you've been saying it like used to when talking about something in the past, that's wrong? So I'm going to put it here in the chat and up on the screen so that you see what I'm talking about. I used to do whatever, right? And if you put that in the chat, which I'm going to show it on the screen, if you go through your text and you do a search, you'll see other people will write like that, talking about something in the past as well. And that's wrong. It's I used to, which doesn't sound right to me. I used to paint. Like I used, oh, hold on. Put that in the chat. I used to, I'm going to say be critical. That's the correct way to say it, with the D at the end. Say it out loud to yourself and see if it sounds right to you, because it still doesn't sound right to me. Enrich is another word that I struggle with. I'm going to say as a Southerner, because I would say it like enrich, which I'm known to mess up some words. Hey, babe, what's some of the other words that I used to say and just mess up on? I don't know how long this government shutdown is going to last. Again, I could go about 6 months before I then have to figure out some creative financing to get things paid. And I doubt the government shutdown is going to go that long. Some people on my Facebook page had said that they would put it at about 52 days plus or minus a couple of days. Now that's going to take us past Thanksgiving, past Christmas, and into New Year. Ugh. I hope for y'all's sake that y'all plan for this. I hope for y'all's sake that when it happened in 2019, for people that might have been in the same boat as me, you would have taken that as an opportunity to make things happen for yourself. If you didn't, that's on you. If you didn't learn from the first time, and this is hitting you this time around, feel that, and then create a plan so that when the barbarians at the gate the next time, you'll be in a better position. Shout out to my man David Cunningham. DC's in the building, said happy Halloween, King. Hey David, man, happy Halloween, brother. Hope you have a fantastic weekend, man. How's the weather gonna be like where you're at? It was a windy. Now, I'm not gonna say rainy, but it was raining. I don't know if y'all can hear the rain in the background now. That's actually artificial noise that I just put up based on the background that I'm currently in, because this is where I would like to be while I'm furloughed. At a wooden cabin, sitting on the porch with it raining, and maybe a nice tea or something, feet kicked up, all of that jazz. But nah, this is artificial. It was raining earlier though, like not really raining, it was sprinkling a bit. So this Halloween wasn't like the best. It wasn't too cold though. Wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. Wasn't really sunny, I don't think here. But I was driving. I was in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania earlier today at a buddy of mine's sister's memorial. And for those of y'all that don't know, Punxsutawney, however it's pronounced, that's what a groundhog is. The groundhog on Groundhog Day, Punxsutawney Field is in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. And that place has all of the things that you could have, that if it's about a groundhog, then they have it up everywhere. I took a couple of pictures. I don't think we're gonna have time to bring it up here, but I did take some photos of Punxsutawney Field. A lot of the buildings had a version of Field that they had like around the building on each of the streets and things like that. Very, very touristy thing to do, but it helps add to the town's flavor. Punxsutawney, but I was there for a pretty sad event. My homie, a good brother of mine, who actually just messaged me, or he messaged me a little bit earlier. He was having a memorial service for his sister, and he talks very highly of his sister. She wasn't that much older than me. He talks highly of his sister. She developed some health things. I don't want to say it publicly, although I think he's posted it publicly, and I even talked about the GoFundMe. But she found out about some health things and is no longer on this physical earth. And his sister was kind of like a mom to him, you know, was there. I looked at a lot of the pictures that they had displayed up on the screen today, and I never met his sister, but he would, you know, he had always talked about her and things. So I'm aware of who she was, and definitely the impact that she had on him. So I drove up there from Maryland to pay my respects, see the homie and his family, met the widow and his my friends, nieces, and nephews. So the widow's two children, and you know, somebody lost their mother today. Somebody lost their, or yeah, somebody lost their mother. Somebody lost a wife, a sibling. You know, that like support system. And the crazy part about getting old is that people die to you, right? And at 41, that's happened not a lot, not like a dreary a lot, but definitely in different ways. People connected to me, folks that I've loved, people that were connected to people that I knew was a big impact on them, and that changes things. That changes things. I still think about people that were real close to me, family and non-family. I have a buddy of mine who his Xbox gaming tag name and his phone number in my phone, I have not deleted. I have not deleted. I can't do it. Like I want to try to, you know, to me it's like honoring, you know, their memory or whatnot. And I've got a bad memory already. It's trash. That's why I like to take pictures. You know, people, I actually had somebody go, man, you always taking pictures, blah, blah. I'm like, because I might not remember that I was even here if this is brought up 6 months later. Hey, man, so do you remember when you and I was at blah, blah, blah? And I'd be like, wait, I did what? My memory is trash. So I like to take pictures of places that I've been and things so that I can remind myself of a lot of the cool stuff that I've done. Now let me see here. I think I can get this photo up. Yeah, here we go. Let me see if this works. Bam, that's cool. There he is right there. Punxsutawney Phil. That is one of the different groundhog statues. Let me put this over here. Actually, I don't think I can do that. Yeah. So that was one of the different photos that they had of Punxsutawney Phil. Let me change that. Yeah, like this. Right here. That was around different areas or whatnot. But I made the drive back, got back safely, and was able to get things cracking. I also met, you can kind of say, the internet homie. I believe it's our first time ever meeting in person. I don't think we met before today in person, but when you talk to some people online a lot, sometimes it can blend in, like when if you've actually met them in person or not. Well, I've got a couple of comments in here. Let me see. We go in here. David said it's still like it's summer in Southern California. Man, when I was just last in Las Vegas, and I was in Los Angeles as well for a convention, and that's Southern California. I don't think there's any place else in the world that can beat it. That happened to me. Said sit at a football game for 4 hours. It was cold. When does the groundhog check for the shadow? It's early February. February the 2nd. It's within the first 3 days. It's within the first 3 days. I'm going to say it's February 2nd. Let me see. Let me go to the Googles here. Groundhog Day, blah, blah, blah. Yes, February 2nd of every year. That's the day that Punxsutawney Phil will bring out to predict whether we'll have 6 more weeks of winter or an early spring, depending on whether he sees his shadow or not. February 2nd. I knew it was around that time. Let me see. It's widower if it is the man, or widow is the woman. See, this is why English is jacked up in the first place. Why can't they both just be widows? Why does that have to be masculine and feminine if that's the reason, or the reason for the different? Like Spanish, right? There's a masculine way of saying something and a feminine way of saying something. Why does a noun have to follow those same rules? That happened to me. Said I commented that. Bet, bet. Let me take a look at something here. Let me take a look at something. We are almost in November. Today's the last day of October. That's right. I'm curious myself, really, how long the shutdown is going to last. And I'm also glad that I live in a civilized area, if that makes sense. Depending on how your algorithm is on TikTok, there's people talking about boycotting, rioting, going into businesses and taking what they need because they don't have any other way of getting what they think is necessary. And while a lot of it's likely just talk, right? Because there's a difference between saying what you're going to do and doing what you're going to do. I think that as this shutdown gets longer, you will have people making really rash decisions and some dumb choices. Humans are going to human. I live in an area that's not a direct concern of me or for me, but I am going to be out. I'm going to be out doing things from time to time. There's people that I care about that's going to be out doing things as well. Like the rest of the world really hasn't stopped. Really, the rest of the U.S. technically hasn't stopped. If you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of federal oversight or a lot of federal employees, like the DMV area has or does, for the most part, the first 30 days of the shutdown didn't really have an impact for you. But if you're outside of that area, and now we're getting into where more of the federal things that kind of takes care of things that the state also takes care of, but they get reimbursed. Now a lot of people are about to feel it. So it's not just those federal employees, it's not just the military. These next 30 days with some of your elderly and people that rely on food assistance, which that food assistance conversation has spurred some interesting point of views as well. There are the people that say, well, why do 40 something million Americans, which I think was the number, need to rely on this food assistance? Shouldn't people, the common thing is get out and get a job or, pack themselves up off their bootstraps and make things happen. There's the people that are, I work 3 or 4 jobs just so that I don't need food assistance. I don't know the full economics of people that use it, need it, don't need it. I don't really care about that. Why don't I care about it? I choose to focus on what I need to do and the things that I need to put in place so that I don't have to rely on other people for certain things that are necessary. I'm already part cyborg. I've got a defibrillator in right now that I have to rely on a medical team to make sure that that thing is working right. For my normal 9 to 5, I rely on essentially taxpayers to A, pay their taxes, and then B, have the treasury or whoever it is that pays out federal employees be able to send me money so that I can pay my bills. Already having to rely on other things, other systems. I'm trying my damnedest to build a life to where I'm not reliant on other people for something. And that's how I choose to live. And I get that there are people out there in the world that do not have the physical or mental capacity to operate the way that me as an able-bodied-ish person can, right? And I did it that way because I don't have the same heart that people have. So me being a firefighter, not gonna happen. Me being anything that requires any type of running, not gonna happen. And for as much as it sucks to admit this, right? Like I used to play sports and lift weights and do all of those things prior to my cardiac diagnosis. I was talking to the homie tonight, and dude built kind of like me, but way more muscular. Dude could bench 500 pounds. Most I've ever gotten was 480. That was my PR now. And that took a lot. But that was also when I was in my most peak physical fitness shape where I thought I was still going to try and play ball. I don't have a need to do that now. Let me go back up. I didn't realize that I had a couple of comments that came in. So let me see if I can address this. That happened to me said it's like a difference between fiance and fiance. Is it pronounced different too? Is it pronounced different too? Because why is it spelled differently if it's still pronounced the same? That's dumb. Hold on, let me see if I got a.
It got to be drugs.
It got to be drugs. So that's the only reason why we would adopt something. Because that's what's that, French? Why would we? You know what? Good evening. Hey, what up? What up? Is Darius said. I hope that Fed workers aren't pushed to the brink of desperation. They don't need to lose their jobs because of getting caught up in criminal activities. Absolutely. I think smart people that are critical thinkers understand that, like, there are decisions that you can make that you can't walk back from. And if you have a network, right? Because even again, even if I wasn't set up myself, like I didn't get to where I'm at now, just me. I had some help along the way. If you don't have the ability yourself, and you also don't have a positive network around you, People that I know, and almost everybody has had the mindset of, for people that they're close to, right? These people that they're close to, because you can't just do this for everybody. If you need help, if something comes up, I got you, or I'll do the best that I can do. And that's been dope. So if you're a federal worker or people that are in these categories where you're not getting paid but still working, you know to be smart. You know to treat your current employment like gold that it is right now, or treat it like Bitcoin. God happened to me said another one that catches people up a lot. It's two separate words. It burns my grits when people make it one word. Another one that catches people is a lot. Oh, like a lot. Another one that catches people is a lot. Okay. Have I ever made it one separate word? A lot. Hey man, I used to do that a lot. I know I say it fast together like that, but I wonder if I type it too. If I talked how I typed, I think people would assume I didn't graduate high school.
It got to be drugs.
Got my soundboard working too. I'm pretty happy about that. Let's see. What else do I have here?
She belongs to the streets.
God after me said, oh, that in high school, also two separate words. And it frustrates me to no end that people make it one word. High school. High school. Now that's one that it takes me seeing it to be like, yeah, it is definitely separate. My brain ain't on with English as good as it is with doing live streams. David Cunningham said, the military brokers. Hey, David, I want to sit on this for a minute. But before I do, I also saw Paul in the chat. That happened to me said that it is pronounced the same and that fiance is a male and female word. That's weird. Fiance. I make it like fiance as feminine or female word, and fiance, like strong, as the masculine word. I'd make it sound different too. Paul said, salute King. Hey, Paul, I give you a salute. One of the founding fathers of the beautiful, benevolent, bald head brother society. And I think I messed that up by a word or two. But I'm going to get a chance to meet Paul, both Michelle and I. We're going to take this opportunity while I have it within the budget, because I've budgeted this out, to be able to see some friends and make some connections and things like that. So Paul reached out, and it's something that we've talked about in the past as well. I've met Paul one other time at a convention. He just had his 56th or 57th birthday. And the brother is he is a guy that takes care of himself. So me and Michelle and I are looking forward to meeting him and his family, or whoever is all going to be around. Also going to catch the homie Greek Pete. Met Pete through one of the people that I call a brother a brother as well now, through work. Fellow brother in arms too. Shout out to uh, the VACO IT intern group. We started with like 20 of us, and there's a good core six or seven of us that we all still, some of us still live like in the area, but others don't, but yet we still stay tight, stay connected, and support each other. But David talked about the military brokers. This week there was a Senate hearing committee, I forget what they call them, where they have different areas, right? There's a subcommittee for like veterans, the housing committee, all this stuff. And they had the hearing that talked about our government benefits, things like the VA disability payments specifically. It was a target in a couple of, like a Washington Post, I believe, I'm not entirely sure on that, and I want to put a disclaimer so that I don't get hit with some legalese. But there was this news editor piece that talked about how veterans are um, defrauding the system with VA disability, and that's one of the largest line items in our treasury. Right? I mean, it is a big expense that they are currently, paying out. And there were a lot of veterans advocates groups, right, that are at the Hill. They are representative of veterans, and a good bit of them set the story straight for people that don't go through things like fire service. If you're a firefighter, not all jobs in the military, but most jobs in the military, especially really now in this current culture, they want you to get out there. They want you to PT every day. The different military services standards are different. Exercise and working out is important, right? I'm not it definitely is important. When I was in the best shape of my life, it was when I was still active duty. But certain jobs like firefighters, again, military with all of the PC that you're like required to do for the most part, and it looks like they're trying to go back to that. Stuff where you're carrying a lot, like you're putting a lot of wear and tear on your body. Let's just start there at a baseline. You don't have to be a health genius to understand that while the body is strong, that kind of wear and tear is going to hurt yourself and your body long term. Better, like more than the average person, more than the average person. So the things that you experience, stuff that you do, the wear and tear on your body, while the body does naturally age, there have been studies that have been done, have compared like the wear and tear for the regular civilian, and I hate to say it like that, but I don't know of another way of saying it. Comparing it to people that had to ruck for so many miles a day, 3 days a week, that were jumping and landing and doing a lot of different things for their physical fitness and their physical fitness tests. Uh, for the small population, jumping out of airplanes, things like that. There have been studies that have showcased and talked about, how that is. When you look at the things that can occur around the mental health space, it's important to highlight that stuff because and I want to be clear, this is not just like the military, but certain positions where you see a lot of different things that can occur that the average person, depending on some things, might not be able to see. You come out of it different. I don't think that there are too many jobs like that where you might get into that career and you can advance through that career, but it won't change you. Something like the, the military, with not all of the jobs. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that like every single job that's out there, like this is no shade, but like if you work HR in the military and you don't go past the wire, you're not in combat air and things like that, and only good things have happened in your 20 something career. You never experienced self deletions. You never was a part of a unit that saw tragedy. Those people, that small subset of people, can go through and, barring any hormonal things, not really have a lot of things change besides maybe any self wisdom that they've gained. But jobs where you deploy, um, you can see certain things happen. You can almost fly into um, a mountain. You can almost get shot at out of the sky with AAA. Eh, you come out of that and you see things different. You come out of that and definitely see things different. So one of the things that was said by a veteran service organization was that, you know, when you raise your right hand and it doesn't matter what your job was, you had a contract with the nation that you would, support, defend the Constitution of the U.S., all of that jazz. And that our country would ensure that for you defending the nation, that they would take care of you. I think that they're doing a good job of that. And everybody can acknowledge that there are areas of fraud that occurs at any and all levels. That's just that's just life, right? But that the cases of that happening when it comes to people, gaming the system, doing fraud and anything like that, it's so minute. They said that it was like under a percentage of 1%. That's the small amount of people that over time, with the amount of people that have been required to defend this nation, right? Like each of the service human capital pieces. To have less than 1% of a percent be the ones that try and do that, it happens. When you find things out, make the adjustments accordingly, and then, keep your word for those that are doing the right thing, which is literally almost everybody else. David gave an update. It looks like we are going to get a game 7 as the Dodgers are up 3-1 over the Blue Jays at the top of the 8th. Interesting, because Toronto won game 5. So if LA wins game 6, then they're going to go to a game 7. To me, because unlike the WNBA, right? This was their first year where they had a best of 7 series in the finals, and the Las Vegas Aces, shout out to them, congratulations, they swept the other team. Most other sports, when you get to like the major sports, it goes to 7 games, and it can almost feel scripted. For a good bit of people that are able to go to these games, let me see if I can pull up the price of what a game 7 ticket would be. Game 7 World, let me do this, World Series tickets. Let me see if they already have them out. I don't believe that they do, but if they do, I'm going to see. Oh, wow. I'm going to shut my screen so y'all can see what this price is. Prove it. I'm not tripping. Wait, that's the wrong button. Where's my assistant at? Figure this out, assistant. We are, nope, not here. Here. So according to Vivid Seats, World Series tickets for Game 7 are selling out fast. This is today's game, and there's literally 5 tickets left apparently through resale that are going at a minimum of 1,044. That's crazy. That is insane. And 2 of the tickets right here, to buy 2 tickets together, because I couldn't just get 1 ticket, $1,507 to get in the game, to be a part of the experience. Sitting up here, what was the price down here? Is it able to show me the price of? Nope. I can't even see like what was the general price of these tickets for people that thought that the series was going to end on 6 games. So when I go back, oh, I don't think y'all can see what I see. Oops. I was looking here. My bad. This is the price right here. So you're talking about over $3,000 US dollars to be able to sit up here, which when I go back and I look at what game 7 tickets are, let me share this screen instead. The tickets are definitely for people that they got disposable money. So if I would look at 2 tickets and I want to get something down here, I want to get down near the action, 3,900 a ticket. How much would a solo ticket be? Let me see. 3,800. let's see, you get right here. These look like suites. You're probably around 6, 7,000. I wonder if they sell out all the tickets. I wonder if they sell out all of the tickets. It's not like people are broke. Our nation is a wealthy nation. Think about that. We still live in a wealthy nation. So much so that I don't know how many seats this stadium holds in Toronto, but so much so that they're likely going to sell out at the finals of a baseball game. Think about that. David said that the tickets are probably cheaper in Toronto. They likely were. Game 7, they won't be. This one over here, 16,000, 17,000 for, what was that, 4 tickets? Yep. Wait, no. I might have had 4 selected. Oh, is that for 1 ticket? Yeah, 1 ticket. I must have clicked on the wrong one. But why does it say a different amount when I actually click on it? See, this is why this stuff. Did y'all see that? Am I tripping? I might be tripping. But folks are gonna be at the game. $4,000 a ticket to see it live with the other fans. Which going to the game can be an experience. It is an experience itself. You get to hear the crowd, and there's a lot more people cheering. Sometimes that can be annoying. Somebody got kicked out of a game recently for cheering excessively and being a nuisance. And then apparently, like, staff even like agreed with somebody who made a complaint, and they got DOS booted, and the person tried to, fight to not get kicked out. But yeah, so while some people are struggling, there's several people that have made great or good decisions in life, and they're not struggling. They are not struggling. Let me look at my comments here real quick to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Nope. It looks like I am caught up. My kid, this was her first trick or treat as an adult, or her first Halloween as an 18-year-old. And it's kind of interesting because there were people out in the downtown area that it's crazy how I am at 41, and like I'm looking and I'm thinking about the time when I was in my 20s, and people in their 20s that go out for Halloween. It's not about the costume, it's about being seen. Let me just say it like that. And I didn't know, like, as my daughter, she's not like a party person, which I never was either. I like to hang out with friends. I like to spend time with, people who I know, laugh, politic, and things like that. But I asked Castle, I said, "Hey, you got any plans for tonight?" Her butt was in her room writing an essay. Now, she did say that she hung out with her roommate, and they hit a couple of things that her campus was having on campus yesterday, so Thursday night. But her Friday was, she was in, she goes, and she also didn't want to be out where a lot of drunk people could be out. And when people are drunk, they don't make the best decisions. So I commend her for that. She said that she was in her room and finishing up an essay. She sent me a picture of her at her desk, right, as she was writing the essay. And I think it's dope that she'll call me from time to time and just ask me how I'm doing, things like that. She doesn't call just to say, "Hey, Dad, I need something." I'll check in, and that right there warms my heart. It's nice to see the youngin getting out and doing our thing, learning. We still don't have a license. This generation is different. If y'all got kids, 17 to 19, I remember when I came up, the day I turned 15 and I was able to get my learner's permit, I want to say I was at the DMV getting my learner's permit. Shortly after, when I was 16 and I could go take my test, I went and took my test. A lot of my peers that have kids that are around the same age as Castle, they weren't interested in driving. Now, I don't live in a very walkable area, and where Castle lived at, really can say it was like extremely walkable. Things were within walking distance. So if you had a bike, you could easily take your bike to a lot of places that were close by anyway. There isn't, we also have where we live a really good public transportation system as well. I know some areas don't. Some towns, like I don't think Punxsutawney had public transportation. I'd be curious if they had Uber. I heard something behind me fall. Gonna have to go grab the blicky real quick and you know what I'm saying? Get back and load off, pop it out. Hey, if I was looking for 3 hots in a cot because I was about to be homeless, it's there. That's what I might do. That's a callback if you're still on. I still got it with the comedy. Some people don't know. I've done stand-up comedy. If you look up King Smith comedy on YouTube, you'll see a 5-minute performance that I did at the DC Improv. I kind of miss it. There's something about being on stage and making people laugh that is dope. It hits differently until you bomb the first time. The first time you bomb, you really want to rethink if you got it. But even really famous people, every last famous comic have talked about how they bomb, and you never forget it. You never forget the first time that you bomb, and you get or some pity laughs. Like you want that deep, like those hearty laughs, like that when people throw their head back. If you just kind of get a, yeah, then you know your jokes ain't hitting, and you do not forget those nights. I do miss comedy a little bit. I got into comedy through the Armed Services Arts Partnership. Shout out to them. And it was great when it lasted, and then COVID happened, and I touched the mic once, no, twice actually, twice since then. And one didn't really count. It was at the end of an already showcase, and I got up and performed in front of other comics that were still there. I think I recycled a joke, and then on the spot created a joke that had a setup and a punchline, just kind of off the fly based on current events, and that one got some laughs. It's not something that I'm going to pick back up now that I'm furloughed. I do know some people. Shout out to Dwayne White Comedy. If you go and follow his Facebook page, he's a Army veteran. I believe he was in the Army. He went through the Armed Services Arts Partnership himself, as well as Monica. Hey, Monica. I don't know if you watch my live streams or whatnot, but he is leaned heavy into comedy. He's actually traveled and performed as a comic. I believe that is how he pays his bills. They're doing different shows and things right now, and they actually offered for one of their shows this past week. If I had the time and the ability, I've got a couple of people. Shout out to Dominique Cannon. If you're watching, which you should be, she is setting up some things around the Baltimore area in the comedy space. Dwayne, Monica, I see those two still doing the comedy scene, traveling with it, right? It's afforded them to travel and things like that. And comedy's kind of therapy, man. Like if you think about some of the comics right now, What comic had a good life? Comics have been through some things, and they're able to then reshape that and tell that in a way to bring other people in and get them to laugh. Like, how many people have ever left a comedy show and like was mad? If you went to one of the comics like Barry Spears or some of these comics that'll just roast you, that might make you mad. But if you go to a comedy show and get roasted, why should you be mad? That's part of the art, or it can be part of the art. I wouldn't want to go to a roasting comedy show, but then again, you avoid those type of comics. David said that the stadium capacity at Toronto is 39,150, and they're going to have a good bit of those tickets sold. Dang, that's a lot of money. David said there are Halloween parties planned all weekend here in California. And when you got that kind of weather, you certainly can. I know if I lived in California culturally, I'd be a whole different person. My first time in California, I felt like I didn't belong. It's just different in California. Especially if you're somebody like I grew up in the South, not really in a city area either. So my first time in like a major metro area that wasn't Atlanta, because I look at Atlanta's the South, that feels like home. But going to Philly feels different. It's a different metro feeling because culturally they do things different in Philadelphia than they do in Atlanta, Georgia. But California, you get over to the West Coast as somebody that's from down south or out east, and it's different. You stand out. Whenever I would go to the West Coast, I would get the nickname Bama because I guess I sounded country. But I can imagine them just partying all weekend. Heathens, David, a bunch of heathens. God happened to me said, I commend her because at her age, I was that drunk person. Look, I mean, wish I could like zoom in on my camera. I was drinking underage. Absolutely. If my daughter stays with the way she is with her values, I don't believe she's going to drink the way that I did when I was underage. She's probably tried alcohol by now, and I wouldn't be surprised. I had alcohol when I was younger than her. She's probably tried it. I didn't do drugs or anything like other people that I knew around high school did, so I've never got the appeal of it. She's the type of person that, I mean, you never know somebody's circumstances. I can say that I feel good that I've raised a young adult through help of everybody else that's had input in her life and around her to not make the decision of doing, the real hardcore stuff that can derail a person's life. I don't know too many drug users that live very fruitful lives. And I would just say that like that. I'm just going to say it like that. I found out about a cousin today. I don't know him that well. We know of each other, but I can't think of the last time that me and his cousin have met in person. But on my mom's side of the family, um, I got a text message that had his mugshot and what his two charges were, and it was drug paraphernalia and I forgot what the other one was. But if convicted, it's a felony, right? I don't know what Cuz is going through. I don't know what circumstances or what the drugs were. Let me go back and see what the charge is. Put his first name. Let me put his last name and the charge. Um, hold on. Make sure that I got this proper. Let me look and make sure that I got it proper. What's Cuzzo's last name? Yep, there we go. I should have known that. And to my family that might be watching, look, I didn't say his name. I did not say his name, but he got picked up. Let me see here. Yesterday on a charge of use or possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of a controlled substance in the state of Alabama, right? State charges vary depending on where. I probably shouldn't have said the state. Anyway, it was one of the states. Maybe it wasn't even this state. But he got picked up, and if convicted, right? I don't know if he's going to take a plea. Really don't know. Just found out. Just read what the charges were, and that's going to change things for him. That's going to change things for him, and it's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate. David Cunningham earlier to the point of me in comedy said the original king of comedy. I like that, dude. I used to have a sound effect for that too, but I don't think I have it now. David said, yeah, you learn not to sit in the front row at a comedy show. Depending on who it is, yeah, you don't want to sit in that front row. That's the roast zone. That is the roast zone. That's the chance to get scrutinized. That's the chance for them to find something funny. There are a couple of comedians now that do this style of comedy that I like. Nate Jackson is somebody that through social media has really built up an audience and has probably changed his life because he's been a comic for a long time. But he does a very sit down, engage with the audience style of comedy that has caused his life to skyrocket. If you're around comedy and the comedy scene like I am, then you know who that is. I don't profess to know because there are so many great and good comedians out there that I've never heard of that are out there doing mics. They can rock a crowd and in comedy scenes. Like comics are one of those that if you're around the comic culture, you can hear of a name, and even if you've never seen this person perform, the way that people will talk about them and other comics will talk about them, like you know that that person's good. Like in the surgeon field, if you're like the cream of the crop surgeon, people outside of surgery don't necessarily know you. And if you're not a commercial success, you're still trying to get there, right? You might be somebody that's a great comic in a certain market, but because you haven't been to other markets or you're not like an international name, other people may not know you, but the comic scene would. Like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is international across two genres too, right? Comedy and acting. He's really taken that where somebody that started out doing mics in Philadelphia area, and New York, and it's changed the life of him and his now ex-wife, kids, current wife, his posse, people around him, like the other comics call it the Plastic Cup Boys. He's been able to like put them on, and they've gone on. Spanky, Naheem. I've seen them separate. I've seen them independent of Kev because they would like open for him. Be his opener, his host, a feature right before like the main act. And you're like, oh, these guys are funny. But if I'm not doing or going to comedy up in that market, I'm not going to know who they are. And whenever, they came down, I was like, oh, Spanky's going to be a, headliner for this night or whatnot. Like I've been introduced to them. I found out independently that they were funny. So now I'm going to go check them out. That's how comedy works. To hone stand-up comedy too, one of the reasons why I had to walk away, again, I did it and I went through the class after my divorce as a distraction. And I'm thankful that I did because I've met some really awesome people that I've kept in contact with while doing the ASAP stand-up comedy. It takes time to do that craft to really get good, to hone your timing, right? To go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 10 minutes to 15 minutes, 15 minutes to doing 30 minutes, 30 minutes to your kid on stage. You can do a whole hour. Sometimes somewhere between 15 minutes to 30 minutes. If you're good at improv and things, you can go out and be a host. And in order to do that, you needed to hit those open mics and put some time into it. But that's just like any craft. If you're in medical, right? If you're a surgeon, you want to get good with, you got to get in there. You got to be practicing. You got to do it. You got to work those skills. I couldn't rub two nickels together around 2019. Why is my phone lit at my watch? I haven't changed that. But around 2019, 2020, when I graduated and I did the stand-up comedy and things, I didn't have the financial capability to hit the various mics. And then COVID happened. And you can say, well, King, there were people doing virtual shows. Yeah, but it's different. That's kind of an excuse. It's different. I did have some encouragement to keep doing it, but I also knew that that wasn't going to be a vehicle for me to really turn things around the way that I needed to. And I just couldn't see a path to do it. But I did see a path with where I was at, and that was increase my skills in federal, earn some promotions. I'm paid really good with where I'm at now. And that was the path that I needed initially to get things done. So I gave up the stand-up comedy, but I like to bounce things off of people from time to time. I think I could still do a solid 5. It won't be strong. It won't be strong, or yeah, it won't be tight. It won't be punchy. It won't be, hard hitting. But when it's kind of like riding a bike. If you really understand the technical parts of stand-up comedy, then creating a joke isn't difficult. David said, I like Gary Owens for the Navy. It's Gary Owen. I want to say Gary Owens all the time too. And it's a common thing that people will type when they put his name. And he's talked about it in a lot of his specials. I like David. I like Gary as well. Gary is a comic that he's a white guy, but his market is primarily a black audience, and the comedy's different within the races and culture. Just gonna say that as plain as I can say it. But he was a veteran. I find him to be kind of hypocritical sometimes. And Gary, if you see this, bro, I've been to one of your shows. I've paid for your support. And I get why you had to do what you had to do. But he's talked about it very openly. I missed one of his shows that he had to counsel for. And they lied about it. And I don't even think I had the money at the time to go, but I really wanted to see him. So I was a little bit salty about that. I did get the opportunity to go and see him. And then later, you discovered that because of his infidelity issues, he was dodging the divorce between him and his ex-wife, right? This is his information that he's talked about very, very publicly. I don't know him. I've never met him. He is hilarious. He is hilarious. But I think that he's very hypocritical. I can be hypocritical, but I don't know. I think a lot, like especially people that are famous, right? Especially if they're famous and if they put out a lot of things through whatever their platforms, their social media. you don't really know these people. Like again, I've never met Gary Owen, but you think you kind of have an idea. Like if you meet me, you can genuinely say that what you see is what you get. Like I don't have a persona. I could have gotten on here and had a whole persona. I've got a crown downstairs. Get me like a robe or something and put it on and just have this persona as I'm doing these live streams. It'll be a hyped up version of me. But what you see with me is what you get. Some of these people like Gary Owen, and there's a couple of different people. They'll have their podcasts and they'll talk about things, but they say enough that you can catch them with what they say versus like what they do because their lives are very public and in the media and things like that. And it's like, oh, you didn't say that. I called out Kev on stage one time. Shout out to him. I just bought his book and finished it not too long ago. They talked about things and uh, you know how they are in the comment section when they had their uh, anyway. I'm not going to get into that. There's talk about for people that are using the food assistance. This is a horrible transition, by the way. That they're still going to give it. There's federal money to do it. Let me see. Let me go to the Googles. If anything, go to the Googles. Will SNAP be paid out in November? Let's see what the Google says, because that's been one of the things that has been talking about. AI Overview says, yes, a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to release the SNAP funds for November, meaning benefits should be paid out. Although likely with delays, the initial plan was to not have them paid out on November 1st due to the shutdown, but a court ruling has reversed this, forcing the USDA to find and release the necessary funding. Oh, so we can just find this funding now to pay out certain things? Why can't they find this funding to pay me my paycheck for the time that I was working before I got furloughed? How about that? Huh. That's interesting. So you kind of kick the can down the road for something. You get what was probably one of the loudest groups. What is it? Like I said, 42 million. Let me see what. How many Americans use Snap? Yep, about 42 million living in 22 million households use SNAP, representing roughly 1 in 8 people in the U.S. Let me see. How many people are in the U.S.? Oh, estimate anyway. 340. A decent percentage of people that use SNAP. Loudest group of people. I don't know how we as a nation are going to clean this up. I don't understand or what we as a nation are going to do about the political climate. Why are we as divisive as we are? Why can't we vote in people that are going to do things for the best interests of not just themselves? Because, like, you will hear, like, our governor, shout out to Governor Westmore. I would like to meet that man in person. He seems like a pretty dope individual. They'll talk about, for the people that they're elected to represent, they'll say what's in the best interest of their people, right? And that's, I mean, it's to have that representation is important. There is still a bigger picture. There is still a bigger picture. And I'm curious why we can't get the people that need to make those decisions to think about the greater good for everybody. Now, that's the greater good of everybody minus slackers. I don't like slackers myself. I don't get why if that's your job, why it can't be done so that we don't get the situations like this. Unpopular opinion, their do will there has to be cuts. In what areas? I can't say myself. That things do have to be cut, things do have to be trimmed. I saw that there was 40 million or 40 billion dollars that was sent to Argentina. I heard that that was a thing. Let me ask the Googles, why was 40 million given to Argentina? Here we go. Let's see. Oh, my bad. Hold on. It was with the B. The 40 million is not the correct figure the US has provided or is considered providing. It is roughly 20 to 40 billion, which is ridiculous itself because a gap from 20 to 40 is a big ass gap. The US is motivated by geopolitical interests, particularly countering China's influence in the region and in making a desire to support a key regional ally. This aid comes in the form of a credit line to address Argentina's shortage of dollars, support its economic reforms, and help meet its foreign denominated debt payments. So we're help trying to stabilize their destabilized economy when it doesn't look like our economy, while we are a wealthy nation, we got issues too. Make that make sense. Huh. Ugh. Really, make that make sense. I don't know if I'm going to commit to this, but I might do this type of a format um, every so often going forward. Especially since I ain't got no job right now, or I don't have a job to go to. I'm still employed. Furlough don't mean fired. I'm still employed, but I don't have a job to go to right now. I am going to focus on being more active. I am going to focus on enriching my mind. I do the King and Me live stream every Mondays with my lady. She still might be listening. I do the sports show with an Army veteran that we affectionately call Coach on Wednesdays. And that's just kind of what I'm doing now. I'm not a sports expert, but I just like to come and have that bar talk about sports with people that want to listen to talk about sports themselves. David has been one of the people that have, shown up often. And David, I appreciate that support. You have no idea. Like I can't think of, I remember one time David missed the sports bar episode and I shot him a text message like, hey man, you all right? Has the World Series ended yet, David? Let me look. Did Toronto come back? Oh, no. Bottom of the ninth. It is still 3-1. They hold this out. It's a wrap. Bottom of the ninth, 0 outs. There's looks like a person on, is that first, the second and third? Hey, the tying runs are out there with no outs too. If Toronto comes back and win this, that is going to be one of the, it's probably not one of the greatest comebacks. The only time I really care about baseball is the World Series. Hmm. Hmm. What happened to me said, I'm here. Oh, he's still listening. Appreciate it. All right. And David said, nope, it is 2 on second and third. Yep. So the tying runs are out there. The tying runs are out there. No outs. They got two runners technically, plus the person at bat. That if that person smacks a home run, they go up right there. It's game. That's crazy. That's crazy. what is the game on Fox? I wish I could do a watch party and just watch this inning with some people that were interested. I can't do it live on this live stream. Uh, I would get zucked immediately by Mark Zuckerberg and YouTube. YouTube would straight nope, cut the line, cut the feed. Tomorrow, I've got to specifically walk 20 minutes first thing in the morning, which is going to be different for me. So I'm going to get that done. We'll drink some water to start the day, get the crust out my eyes, and I'm going to do something called King Day. It is in my shared calendar, and King Day is a regular day for me, but it is also a selfish day. So don't nobody ask me for nothing tomorrow, because the answer is likely going to be no. There was a pitching change, and it looks like there is one out now. Appreciate the update, David. Yep, pitching change done. This pitcher is now on their second pitch. Did get one out, so all they got to do is knock down the next two, and force a game 7. But tomorrow's King Day. Y'all should make every day whatever. Make it with your first name and then day. I know Michelle. Did you have your Michelle Day already? I've inspired people to create their own days. I know that folks have been doing this already, but yeah, just be selfish. Be selfish. Take a day to just be selfish. Kick your feet up. Put your hands in your pants like Al Bundy. And tell everybody, nope. Go find a cabin like this and rent it out and relax. Guy happened to me said, first of all, yeah. So that's my day for tomorrow. Sunday is going to be a bit of the same. I'm going to go up to the homie's house. Him and I are going to catch some fantasy football. Think Michelle's going to come by? No, you have an event Sunday. That's right. You are supporting a former student of yours, which is dope, by the way. Again, people in the community that cares. That's how we change things. Find a community and then have those communities make other bigger communities. And then we have a meeting of all the communities where you root out all of the bad elements in your community. Get all the bad apples out. Why don't we do that? Why don't we snitch and be like, that dude or that lady right over there is a bad apple and they need to get out of this community? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? It would cause things to not happen, like this story that I'm going to share, and then I'm going to close out the live stream. Said that there will be a game 7. Hey, wait, how did it go from one out? What did I miss? Ground out to left. Let's see, double to the. What's the full play by play? There is a game 7. So let's see, bottom of the 9th. That was a ground rule double. And then a ground out to the left. Wow, okay. All right. There will be a game 7 staying in Toronto. And that is going to be on what day? Because I've got my sports show. So game 7 is going to be, let's get in here. Let's look at the schedule. Tomorrow? Nah, I won't be watching it. I'll get the updates. I won't be watching it. 3-1 final. Just put it up on the screen, David. Hey, I appreciate the updates. Michelle said that when she has a Michelle day, at least I don't go anywhere or do anything. But that's the thing. If you're going to do something, it should be about you. It shouldn't have to be about you checking with somebody or, hey, is it cool if I? No. If you got your hands in your pants like Al Bundy and you just want to get up and go to Baskin Robbins and taste all the 31 flavors, you just get up and you go do it. If you were to go find a hiking trail and go hiking, you just go do it. You might let somebody know in case something bad happens, they know where you're at. And you just go. That's what King Day is about. If you choose to do something, you do it because you want to, not because of any type of obligation. I wonder how far the delay is. I think it's longer than like 10 seconds. But David just said that the game's tomorrow. Appreciate that. D, what was I talking about? Community. And let me see if I should be able to get this up. That's what she said. And I saw a video that just it pissed me off. It made me angry. Because a man innocently lost his life who was suffering from a health thing. But because this one cop just didn't care, he ended up losing his life. So I'm going to fair use this. Fair use to KARE11 for using their story, a segment called Cruel and Unusual. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen. Does Alabama have a bye week? Bama, let me see, because I got the games in a calendar. Shout out to my lady for doing that for me. Yes, Alabama has a bye week before we play LSU next week. And they're going to need that bye week. They're going to need the bye week to regroup and get things in order because that's not a championship team. It is not a championship team. I'm going to share my screen. I hope it's not double audio here. But let me turn this up, make sure it's not too loud, see if y'all can hear this.
Actually trained to determine if someone is under the influence of drugs arrests a postal worker having a medical emergency. It's a case that ends with an innocent man dead.
Stop the rain.
A warning for viewers, this report contains graphic video. AJ Legault has the story as part of his long-running investigative series, Cruel and Unusual.
The Dakota County Jail, November 17th, 2024. Kingsley Bimpong flops around on a cell floor.
It's horrific video to watch.
He's lying in his own urine. Guards walk by and look in as part of their legally mandated well-being checks, but for hours, do nothing.
So I'm going to pause. I have to do this for fair use purposes. Fair use, right? I got to add commentation to it and all of that jazz. So here you have a guy who was arrested. He's in a jail cell. And you saw him in the video that was sped up over time, like flopping around on the ground. Let's play more of this.
Nothing until it was too late.
He was suffering immensely.
Katie Bennett is a lawyer representing Kingsley's family. She's suing Dakota County, but says the real story starts hours before Kingsley was booked into the jail, unable to even stand on his own, accused of a crime he did not commit.
Which makes it particularly hard to watch him suffering from something that no fault of his own.
So that's the setup, right? So if you're going to say, wait, how did this U.S. Postal Service employee end up in jail? And they're saying that he's in jail for something that he didn't do. Just watch.
The story starts here at the United States Post Office's Eagan Distribution Center. Kingsley works the night shift. He began complaining of a headache and then just vanished from his job.
So here's a man who was working the night shift, right? Complained of a headache and then just left. Didn't tell anybody, just dipped. That's strange.
Records show an Eagan police officer spotted him driving his maroon car the wrong way on Pilot Knob Road in oncoming traffic, bumping into the center median. He was pulled over.
Maroon Ford Edge registered to a Kingsley Bimpong.
According to the police report, Kingsley was extremely confused, did not know where he lived, and did not know where he worked, even though he was wearing a USPS vest.
So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to ask y'all who are watching this. He was at work, complained of a headache, and then just dipped. He ain't say nothing to nobody. Driving on the wrong side of the road, got pulled over, right? Seemed confused, couldn't answer anything. I think that a majority of people in that circumstance would say that he was on drugs or drunk. That's fair. That's fair. But let's continue to see what the actual story was.
Hey, Kingsley.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
I don't know.
Kingsley just kept repeating, "I don't know," and was unable to do standard field sobriety tests.
And things just go downhill from there.
There was no sign or smell of alcohol.
Hey, if you're free, can you come over here, please?
So Officer Martin Jensen, Egan's Specialized Drug Recognition Evaluator, or DRE, was called to the scene. DRE officers go through advanced training by the Minnesota State Patrol to help identify drivers impaired by drugs and distinguish them from those suffering medical emergencies. They're trained on a 12-step process. But according to Bennett, that protocol was ignored.
They're trained on a 12-step process, right? Which means that you go here, you go boom, boom, 3, 4. I'm going to count it out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A process. Why do processes exist? Right? Like, let me see. Why do processes exist? I want to read like the literal definition. Processes, or not a definition, but an explanation anyway to the question. Processes exist to ensure that tasks are completed efficiently, consistently, and to the highest standards. Processes are typically created for a reason. And if you follow those processes, you can typically go through things without an error, right? Because you have a standard to it, and it is a high standard. It reduces the margin of error that can occur and possibly not have a death like what occurred to this innocent man.
Basically, none of those are done.
The lawsuit alleges Officer Jensen can be heard on body cam saying doing a DRE evaluation would just be a whole bunch of time wasted. And when asked if Kingsley should be taken to the hospital, the DRE officer responded, "For what?"
Who? Angry yet? This guy with this shitting grin on his face was the person that was responsible for completing the 12-step process as a DRE specialist, right? He probably attended, or he did probably attended. He attended some special training that might have gotten a bump in his pay as well. That's supposed to do this process, but chose not to. He just assumed that for whatever reason, I'm not going to say what I think happened, because if it was somebody that he knew or that might have looked like him, I'm just going to ask the question or throw it out there. I'm curious if those 12 steps would have happened. I'm curious if a higher level of professionalism would have been done.
Kingsley was arrested, charged with DWI, and taken by Officer Jensen to Dakota County Jail, where he was so disoriented he was unable to even complete booking. Instead of getting a medical screening, jail video shows he was placed in a cell. Minutes later, he falls, and hour after hour after hour, he rolls on the floor, unable to stand, urinating on himself repeatedly. Guards look in and document inmate and cell okay.
Paperwork says they checked on him and he was okay.
He was clearly not okay.
What was he?
Let me go back here. Let me see if I can.
He was clearly not.
That was what the wellness check looked like. It was, you got one at 122, another one at 144. So about, looks like 20-minute intervals. But then they got closer. It looks like by the same officer too, because I see a lot of ones. There was one that ends in a Z, one that ends with an N. Okay. But it looks like once, I don't know, because the frequency kind of picked up here, 21, 22, 25, where they like walked by or walked past or whatever. Or maybe, no, it looks like 121 was his cell where he was by himself, and it looks like 1100 was probably a different cell or a different area.
And cell okay.
Paperwork says they
Initially
checked on him
every
and he was
20
okay.
minutes.
He was clearly
Then I
not
saw
okay.
the same location later.
Dying.
More than 3 hours went by until a female guard noted he was foaming at the mouth.
So here we have somebody with some damn sense. 3 hours had gone by of him being in the cell. So this is from his job to being in the car to being in cell. You're talking maybe over 4 hours and some change.
Having seizure-like activity, and the jail nurse was finally called.
Come on, son. Belly up. Wake up. Wake up.
Acting on the information that he was on drugs, she administers Narcan, with no results.
Come on. Can you look at me? Wake up.
As paramedics arrive, you can hear a guard and nurse discuss how Kingsley was ignored, the so-called well-being checks, just for show.
You say you've been like that all night. Not to worry about it. No, that's not okay.
Two people with some damn sense now, where they're like, this has been going on with this person. He was in there like that all night, and they go, that's not okay. You don't at any point think to get the guy medical.
Well,
if he didn't have medical, even if it was drugs, why wasn't medical given earlier? Why wasn't it just default? Hey, we suspect that it's drugs. He needs a medical eval now, like at the beginning of booking.
this person is not checking when he's doing rounds. He just walking by and scanning.
And she called it out. And I'm thankful that that's on camera and it's caught out that way. Because at least the family can get some kind of justice.
Finally, taken to the hospital, where it was determined.
Which that part right there, like if this was somebody who I knew, and I'm watching this step by step, jack him up this way, he's still handcuffed. Which that might be if he was having, I don't know. Like, maybe you would strap him down, but he's still handcuffed, treated like a damn criminal.
He'd been suffering for hours when every minute counted from an untreated stroke. Our investigation finds DRE officers are specifically trained that subjects suffering from a stroke will often have a dazed appearance and be confused, and warned a stroke may mimic drug and alcohol impairment. At the hospital, Kingsley was declared brain dead. The state crime lab later confirmed there were in his system no drugs.
No drugs. Cannabis, opioids, amphetamines. I always mess that up. PCP, benzos, methadone, fentanyl, all not detected. The man was not suffering from drugs. He was suffering from a stroke.
For KARE 11 Investigates, I'm AJ Legault.
The city of Eagan and Dakota County have not yet filed a legal response to the lawsuit. Eagan's police chief and Officer Jensen, along with the Dakota County Sheriff, declined to comment for this report.
If we had more of a community, stuff like that wouldn't happen. You turn the rain back on. If we had more people that care, stuff like that wouldn't happen. Like, at all. At all. If you had more people that care. It took one person 3 hours later to care. That's crazy. That is insane. David Cunningham said a lawyer is going to eat this case up. Yes, and it looked and it sounded like that lawyer, like, you got that kind of evidence that's there. Yeah, that should be, like, I don't know what, if he was a father or, what his family history was. Likely had people that cared about him. And now he's not here. What happened to me said it's so sad. And they better hope that the guy's not represented by Ben Crump. Oh, Ben would bankrupt that city. Bankrupt. All right, y'all. It is, oh man, I've been almost 2 hours, hour and 44 minutes. Hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you go into November with fortune and things like that. If you got loved ones, make sure that you tell them that you love them. Make sure that you hug them. all those things. Tomorrow's not promised. It's just not. And when you get older, you realize that. But I am the actual King Smith. And this is my furlough, day one live stream. I'll see some of y'all tomorrow. Take care. Peace.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Trumpets blare the golden call. A throne awaits, I rise so tall. Drums like thunder, shake the hall. Royal robe, I wear the weight. Diamonds cut the night, no debate. Heavy is the head, but I'm feeling great. Crown me king, crown me king. Horns will shout, let the kingdom sing. Crown me king, crown me king. Bow to the sound, feel the power I bring.